Okay, welcome to it, everyone. Hey, there we go. Pulling my Dan Aykroyd move before he introduced the hip on SNL. 1994. Okay, so we are, yes, doing the Tragically Hip, the quintessential Canadian band. So we're counting down the records, and there's one EP and one live album. That's the word I'm looking for. Of course, Tragically Hip from Kingston, Ontario, formed in '83, broke up sadly in 2017. Wow, time flies. And that's because Gord Downie tragically passed away all too soon. I can't remember who said it, but they said Tragically Hip are a band so Canadian that there's two Gords in the group, which I always thought was really funny. So you have Gord Downie, of course, the legendary Gord Downie, Gord Sinclair on bass, and also vocals, Rob Baker, a great blues guitarist, rock guitarist too, Paul Langlois. I never know if I'm pronouncing his name right, because I'm not French, and Johnny the Human Metronome Fay. Awesome, awesome. So let me just bring up my rankings here. So let's just start off here, no time to lose. Number 15 it is, We Are the Same. Oddly enough, this was the first Tragically Hip one I ever heard, and I kind of thought, I don't get it. I don't get why people love this group so much. And yeah, it's all good if you like this record. I've never understood like what exactly they were doing here, and I've always felt it was a little bit even boring. And it's not even that I find the songwriting not as inspired. I mean, I don't. It starts with Morning Moon, which I don't think is a very interesting song. And when you don't have a good intro song, especially when you're the Hip, they've had some of the best ones ever, like Grace 2, Little Bones, Courage. And I don't know. You know, if you don't have a good intro song, then you're kind of hooped already. And Bob Rock was the producer on this one, and I generally don't like his work with the band as much. And I'm starting to find that I don't like his work with a lot of bands. Like Our Lady Peace, he took away all their edge, and they became really safe. And it worked for them for one album. It was like their most successful one in the States, I think. And then things kind of tapered off again. But yeah, I'm sure I could find some. I think he did some good classic rock records, but I think that he's kind of, I don't know. He makes everything too safe and corporate rock radio sounding. I'm not sure. His work with OLP, 311, like, it's just not as good as those bands we're used to. Number 14 is going to be World Container. And this was probably one of the last ones I heard, because once I started to actually get into the group, maybe a year after hearing We Are the Same and going, okay, I'll try the greatest hits, because it was $10 at a drugstore. And I thought, $10? It's 2 discs. Like, you get like actually get more than 30 songs. You get between like 35 and 40, I think. And the value there, and man, like every cut was great. That's one of the best greatest hits ever. And then finally, once I started to like that, I'm like, okay, time to get into this band. And I started, buying their CDs first, and then their LPs. And this was one of the last ones I bought and one of the last ones I heard. And it's kind of starting to go into the We Are the Same situation. Again, it's another Bob Rock production. But, there's a few good songs. You're Not the Ocean's okay, I like that one. The Lonely End of the Rink. There's still some rockers, and the tender songs are better still. They're not boring. I'm putting these on top of my cassette tapes, so that's not going to be good. Next up, Live Between Us, or it's actually Live Between Us because it's a live record, but I'm pretty sure that's a play on words anyway. But Live Between Us, the experience between the band and their rabid knucklehead fans. So this, of course, came out in 1997, so it was right in between Trouble at the Hen House and The Great Phantom Power. And it's a great set list. They had some great set lists in the 90s, and because arguably that's a lot of their best material. So, of course, it covers the new album at the time with lots of entries like Don't Wake Daddy and Ahead by a Century, which went on to become one of their most popular songs, Gift Shop, Springtime in Vienna, and then classics going back to Up to Here, like New Orleans is Sinking, and then you have some ones off Road Apples and all those classic ones, Fully Completely, of course, Day for Night. Yeah, and the performance is good, but I think the problem with listening to the band, bootlegs and live albums is, Gord is, going off the cuff and doing his Gord thing, and it's more fun to watch him and experience his ramblings, and, he sings things differently, and whenever there's an instrumental break on a record, he usually fills it with some, poetry or some just madman rants, or, he changes lyrics up, and, yeah, it's fun to experience in person, and it's fun to watch, but just listening to it, I don't know. You gotta, like, watch them on YouTube or watch one of their DVDs that they put out. I think you get the experience a little more that way. This one I haven't heard in a long time, but it's now for Plan A, and I have good memories of this one just because when this album released, that was the tour we saw them on. Actually, the album was a little ways out, but they performed a couple songs from it. It was, I think it was Streets Ahead and At Transformation, and it was definitely at Transformation. Yeah, it's getting to be a return to form, definitely. It was a nice record after the last couple, and I'm not sure if the production does it any favors, but it sounds pretty good with headphones on, and it has one song called Man Machine Poem, which would be the name of the next record, and unfortunately the final record from the band. And, okay, so next up is Music at Work. And I said that the 2009 album was the first one I ever heard, but I remember the first hip song I ever heard was back in about 2000, and that was Music at Work, the title track, which is definitely a favorite. I don't know if it would be top 10 from the group, but it's definitely top 20. I love that song. But this album was kind of inconsistent, and it was the first really inconsistent one in my opinion. There's some really cool tracks on it, and some really, I don't know, not clunkers, but just ones that don't quite measure up. Lake Fever definitely took off. That one was pretty good. Yeah, there's some good ones. The Bastard was pretty good, I remember. Freak Turbulence. Tiger the Lion's okay. I'm not quite sure what it means. Maybe it's just surrealistic songwriting, I'm not sure. But yeah, I love that title track. That's the biggest takeaway from that one. And then, now we have Up to Here, which was the first real full-length record, of course. And this is going to be number 10, and this is probably way too low for a lot of fans. And admittedly, New Orleans is Sinking, as monster as that song is, and maybe overplayed up here in Canada, it's still one of the band's best songs. It is so good. It is so raw. Gord's lead on it, so good. His voice kind of quivers and shakes. It's really raw. The playing is just pure, dirty blues meets rock and roll. And this record is definitely still kind of blues rock, which was established on their EP prior to this, a year prior, I believe. And it's starting to go in the direction that Road Apples would take. I think this is another case of the best known songs are actually the best ones. which is always kind of a rare thing for me. Like Blow It High Do is great. I love that one. 38 Years Old just knocks you down on your socks. Yeah, there's so much meaning. It's like, wow, 38 years old, never kissed a girl. It's a sad story, actually. And apparently, Gord Downey's brother Mike is sick to death of people asking him if that song's actually about him, and if it's true, and he was in jail and he never kissed a girl at 38 years old still, and he's like, that's not true. Why did he write that song about me? It's just, what do you call that? Poetic justice or poetic license, I guess. But yeah, those three songs are definitely the standouts. Opiated is really good too. But you know, I'll Believe in You, you know, it's fine, stuff like that. But there's just some songs that really are up here and the rest are kind of down here a little bit more. Okay, was I doing this one next? I think I made a last minute change to this, didn't I? Did I? I'm not sure. Okay, I'm gonna go with what I wrote down because that's how I was feeling. So anyway, it's Man Machine Poem, the very last record of the group. By far the worst cover art. That's so cheesy, I cannot stand it. But the actual record, this in my opinion was the best record they put out since In Violet Light, and yeah, it was so nice to have like a consistent record again. And this isn't even opened. I bought the CD the day it was released. I think I got the record a year or two later. So this just tells me that I have to put this one on. But I remember listening to this one a lot when it came out. It's got Wet Blue on it, and Tired as Fuck was the one that really took off. And I think they performed at every show on the last tour, or most of them. That's probably my least favorite because it seems kind of gimmicky, like memey, I guess, if that's a word. But yeah, the rest of the record's really good. There's some really experimental stuff. I really like the closing and opening song. They're very atmospheric and sort of experimental almost for the group. I really appreciate that. Yeah, I thought as a late career choice, this was a really cool album. And you know, obviously leading up to it, you heard so much about Gord Downey's illness and that he wasn't gonna, you know, be living much longer, and then that was what the tour's all about, like Last Chance to See the Hip. And apparently the whole thing was, I think it was written before he knew that he was terminally ill. I don't know, I've heard varying accounts, but I think that shows people bought the record and were wondering like if there were any keys to him knowing he was unwell and would write about it and sing about it. But there isn't that much of that, and so it's interesting to see because apparently they were recording other stuff when he was deteriorating, and if that stuff ever comes out, of course at the time of this video, I'm going to date this video, but Saskadelphia is coming out tomorrow, or by the time this video is posted, it'll probably be today. Yeah, so that's obviously archival Road Apples material. Anyway, that's enough. I digress, but it'll be really interesting. I'm really interested to see what that stuff sounds like. And they apparently got a bunch of stuff in the vault, according to the band. According to, I think Rob Baker was saying that. So this one's In Between Evolution. This is going to be number 8. And this is... yeah, I guess this goes against what I said, the best one since Violet Light. It's between the two, really. This and Man Machine Poem, which came way later. Yeah, this one's got some killer songs on it, but it's still kind of missing the consistency. They lost the consistency of all their early records, in my opinion. I really like... The opener's good. I really like Summer's Killin' Us. I kind of thought that should be a hit, actually. Vaccination Scar, that's just like, that just sounded like classic hip coming back, like that fully completely stuff. Just the edge, and yeah, it was great. I really liked that one a lot. So yeah, I think the B-side is, there's some good stuff on it, but it's not quite as good as the A-side. And now we're at number 7. So I actually have an original copy of this too, but here's the glossy newer copy from, when was this, 2018? The reissue? 2016. Oh, I was a little off. Yeah, so a lot of people, especially big fans, will be really surprised that this is so high, because this is not their established song yet. Also, I like how Rob Baker is credited as Bobby Baker, lovingly credited as. Yeah, this is when they were very much a pub rock band, and they didn't have a lot of original material yet. They apparently played a lot of covers, and then the band would start playing a lot of covers, and then Gord would start making up lyrics to like established songs already, and that's how he wrote a lot of his early lyrics and poetry in that. But yeah, I don't know. I just like how raw this is. It just sounds like a garage band, and yeah, it's not the established hip sound, so a lot of people would probably rank this as their lowest or second lowest. I'd be interested to see, but I always really liked this. I always thought it was very interesting to hear the band in their, just coming up years, and it's kind of like the Pink Floyd stuff that's pre-Piper at the Gates of Dawn, when they were like the Pink Floyd or the T-set, and they did, Walk With Me Sydney and I'm a King Bee, and a lot of people go, yeah, why would I listen to that? I'm gonna go listen to Shine On You Crazy Diamond. But it's like, well, it's interesting to see these bands in their infancy, in my opinion, and I thought that stuff was fascinating when it was finally released, when the early years was, and this is the same thing with this group, to, go out on a tangent again. Yeah, I love the opener song, Small Town Bring Down. That's probably my favorite here. But Highway Girl is a lot of fun and raw, and I'm a Werewolf Baby. I like that one. And of course, All Canadian Surf Club, the very last song. Even before they were Canada's favorite group, they were already writing very Canadian songs. In Violet Light is number 6, and this is when we start to get into more consistency, in my opinion. I said earlier that Music at Work kind of lost the consistency of the quality, which is why I ranked it a little low. And then this one, I think, reestablished consistency for one more record, and then, not to be controversial, but then I think they stopped making consistent records after this, except for maybe Man Machine Poem. All the records except We Are the Same, they all have songs I really like on them. But this one, I think pound for pound, it's consistent the whole way. I really like listening to this. Throwing Off Glass is great. Are You Ready is a fun opener. Use It Up is also fun. Silver Jet, that was a single. I thought that should have been much bigger, but I could see why it wasn't. It didn't even make the greatest hits. And I love that one. And The Darkest One. I don't know why I didn't like that when it came out, but now I love it. And as someone that doesn't like music videos too much, I kind of like the music video too. But that might be because I love Trailer Park Boys, and obviously these guys did too. And Gord plays a cop in one of the Trailer Park Boys movies. Okay, so I'll just win myself with this one. This Hefty Brute, Trouble at the Hen House, number 5. This for a time was like my 3rd or 4th favorite. Yeah, it's a dark record, It's very surreal and very dark, and yeah, his lyrics have gone really surreal here, and even kind of contemplates on Kurt Cobain's death, but reimagines it as like a reincarnation. I think as a dog, but I'm not sure. I was just listening to it the other day, and now I can't remember. Yeah, this one had some great singles on it. Gift Shop, Ahead by the Century. I think Don't Wake Daddy was even a single, or a promo single. And now you can see it on people's t-shirts and stuff. 700 Foot Ceiling, I really like that one. I don't know if that was a single. I remember hearing it on the radio in the late 90s, though. Flamenco's cool. Butts Wigglin', which here's Butts Wiggling. And that even had a video, which is crazy. Yeah, and this is a cool gatefold and everything with all the lyrics. So, yeah, I really like that one. It's a really consistent record. This one might be a little less consistent, but the highs are really high, and I always really liked Phantom Power. And this is a gatefold as well. Poets, of course, one of their best songs, and one of the only ones that charted on US rock radio. Bob Cajun, which somehow became their biggest hit ever. It wasn't at the time. It was huge at the time in Canada, but now it's become their biggest song, it seems. At least going by streaming numbers. And then Fireworks got a lot of radio play too. Escape is at Hand for the Traveling Man. That one's great. Something On, which I think I mentioned already. But yeah, Phantom Power. It's hard. Between this and Trouble at the Hen House, it's like you could kind of swap them out and I'd still be happy with the order. They're both really good mid to late 90s records. Okay, so now we're on to the legendary stuff, in my opinion. Yeah, number 3, Road Apples. For most bands, this would be their best, or you know, they would be happy if this was their best record. This has the crushing Little Bones on it. Little Bones is one of my favorite hip songs ever. Twist My Arm, just amazingly powerful stuff. Just some of the best driving music ever. Cordelia is intense. Three Pistols, Long Time Running, which of course they named that film about them after. I Can Talk. Fiddler's Green, of course, nice tender hip for you. The Luxury is a really cool one with a cool chord progression. Yeah, this is when they became really consistent, in my opinion. But yeah, Little Bones is probably one of my all-time favorite hip songs. And then a few more of my favorites are on this one. Number 2, Fully Completely, the legendary record. I'm pretty sure this is Diamond in Canada. Like every Canadian has a copy of this almost. No, a third of our country. And a third of our country watched that last hip show. And, you know, everything on here could have been a single up here in Canada, I think. And it seems like more than half the record was. You have Looking for a Place to Happen, got a lot of airplay at the 100th Meridian. Wheat Kings, which is just so nice and tender. Sounds like that kind of country Neil Young stuff. We'll Go Too. Fully Completely, the title track, is one of my favorite things they ever did. When they really get cracking and he goes, fully, that's just amazing. Locked in the Trunk of the Car, Let Me Out. 50 Mission Cap. Yeah, which tells a nice, well, not a nice hockey story, but a very true one. And he got all his lyrics from a hockey card that he keeps tucked under his 50 Mission Cap. So that's a really classic record. And maybe it is better than the number 1, but just personally, I've always loved this one since discovering it. It's, you know, even darker than Trouble at the Hen House, I think. It's probably their darkest record. It doesn't have as many hooks, so it didn't sell as well, obviously. And the guitar leads, like the guitar is all over the place. It's kind of experimental, and it's really the bass is holding the songs together. But yeah, there's some great bass playing, there's some great guitar playing that's all over the place. But yeah, it's not as typical like pop song structures. And you know, Little Bones, Fully Completely, those could be my favorite hip songs, but probably Grace too. At the end of the day, I love that. Daredevil is great, Greasy Jungle. There are a lot of rockers on here. Fire in the Hole, that one is just crazy. Everyone should hear that song. It just rocks so hard. Nautical Disaster, which was a single, and they did that one on SNL. They did Grace 2 as well. Their sole SNL performance, which a lot of people said was gonna, you know, bring them into the hearts of America and their overdue breakthrough, and it wasn't at all. Thugs is great. And my phone's going crazy there. Okay. Scared, Emergency. Yeah, there's, like the last couple, there's not a bad song here at all. And it's just a very dark, moody record. and it was very daring of them to do at that time, following fully, completely. So yeah, that's it. That's the hip, and Saskadelphia comes out tomorrow. So yeah, good day, eh? Thanks for watching, and take care, everyone. Fleetwood says bye too. He's meowing over there. Bye, everyone.